Next on our lineup, Rod McGillvray. Rod was born in the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, college at the University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana, law school at IU Bloomington. Former judge for the Bartholomew Superior Court II, currently in law practice, or private practice. Wife, 2 sons and a daughter. Please welcome Rod McGillvray. Rod?
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. I'd very much like to thank the Deatons for all of their hard work and their organization to keep this, I hate to call it a movement because it really isn't something temporary. This has got to be something permanent. Our voice has to be resounding for the next 200 years. I also want to thank Aaron for coming in and taking my place. I didn't want to follow Ben Franklin to talk about the Constitution. That would be a little bit daunting. I was told I've got about 5 minutes to speak here, and giving a lawyer 5 minutes to speak is sort of like giving a gorilla a bunch of bananas and saying you can have one. So I'm really going to try very hard to keep this down to 5 minutes. The Constitution is not something that you can talk about in 5 minutes. In law school, it's a 5-hour class for an entire semester. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and limit this to things that either you might not know or just some very common misconceptions about the Constitution. I see a lot of signs around here talking about the Constitution. I think we all have a basic understanding of what's in it and what the Constitution provides for. But most people believe that the Constitution is something that is a promise from the government to the people. And that is just fundamentally untrue. The Constitution is a promise from the people to the government that we will continue to follow you. We will give you our consent to be governed if you follow these rules. The politicians, and that's another thing, this wasn't just written by great Americans. Let's face it, the Constitution was written by politicians. Okay? The primary signatories were representatives from the states. We had 3 future presidents who were at the Constitutional Convention, several governors, future governors. This was written by politicians. And they knew that they had to sell this new government to a group of people who had just finished a war throwing off a tyrannical government. They knew that that was going to be a hard sell. So they created a constitution, a form of government that had the power to police itself. And that's the other thing that a lot of people don't understand. The Constitution is a bunch of rules for government, only for government. The Constitution doesn't give any obligations to the people. The Constitution is a group of rules that allow the government to police itself. That's what the checks and balances are. When one branch of government gets out of line, the other 2 can bring it back in line. When 2 branches of government get out of line, for example, passing legislation that nobody really wants, we at least have the possibility that the judiciary will come in and clean up that mess. A lot of people, when I give these kind of talks, will ask, well, what do we do when all 3 branches of government go off the tracks? Well, that's when the people have to step in. Because every 2 years, we have the ability to completely replace the House of Representatives. But one final thing, and I swear I was going to keep this to 5 minutes, I'm going to. One final thing I'd like to point out is that just because we have a fundamental difference of opinion with other people doesn't mean that the other people are acting in an unconstitutional manner. We got ourselves into this mess because people duly elected enough people to pass the laws that have been getting passed in the last 2 years. There are duly elected representatives casting their votes because they were elected to be there. We have a president signing them into law because he was duly elected to sign them into law. Elections have consequences. And that's why this group cannot be called a movement. It has got to be our voice. It's got to be a voice of the people. And it's got to continue for another 200 years. All right? I thank you very much.